How does counselling work?
It's like more of a collaboration than someone coming to see you and you telling them what's wrong and what they have to do. It's a process where you engage with someone else to examine what's going on in their life and come up with strategies how to maybe make these things easier to deal with or understand more about what they are. And it's just basically like Freud was famous for saying therapy isn't about making people happy, it's about making people better able to cope with living a life as a human. So it's basically that kind of thing. You're not coming here to be happy and run about joyful all the time. It's just to cope with things, because most people struggle with things, and that's partly because they get into patterns of behaviour and they find it difficult to get out of it. And even when it's not good for them, they just continue doing it because that's what they know. So it's trying to point these things out and show people through things through a different lens, and hopefully they can integrate that into their life and be better able to cope with stuff.
What are some key signs that it's time to get counselling?
If there's things going on in your life that are impacting your life or impacting relationships in your life, then it's time to look at that. So if you're not sleeping well, or you're not eating, or you're being argumentative, or you're not getting on with your spouse or other people, sometimes people have got things in life that aren't great, but they can deal with it and it's not impacting them. But when it starts to impact your life and those around you, then it's probably time to go and see counselling. You don't want to leave it too late. It's the kind of the concept of nipping it in the bud, so to speak. It's not like you would, if something wrong with your car, you wouldn't wait until it stopped working before you dealt with a problem. You would try to fix the problem earlier. So it's just recognising that it's impacting your life in a negative way. And then it's time to look at it.
So would it be like when it's impacting your day to day and dominating your thoughts, even if there's something going on that's dominating your thoughts, so you're struggling to function?
That's what I mean. If you're thinking about it too much and it's making you depressed or agitated or irritable, all of these kind of things, then it's time to do something about it, because generally it doesn't get better on its own. These things mount up and they build up, and it turns into a bigger problem in the end.
How important is rapport between the client and the therapist in counselling?
As long as the therapist knows the stuff, they've done the training and they know how to deal with situations, I think it's probably the next most important thing. If you go and see a therapist and you don't like them, or you don't think they're genuine, or you just don't agree with what they say, there's a myriad of reasons why you won't like someone, as we do in normal life. So having a rapport with someone and they feel comfortable with you, they feel safe, they feel that you're listening to them, you're not judging them, that kind of stuff is really important. If any of that isn't in place, they can think you know your stuff, but you talk to me like there's something wrong with me and I need your help, and it's not really good. They have to feel good about coming here, and they have to feel like this is a safe place, I can come here, no one's going to judge me, no one's going to kind of get shocked when I say the things that I say, and they'll kind of have an understanding of what I'm going through. That kind of stuff. So I think it's probably the second most important part of counselling.
Empathy is such an important part of the relationship between the client and the counsellor. How would you describe the difference between empathy and sympathy?
Well, I suppose at its most basic level, sympathy could be seen as feeling sorry for someone, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but you don't want to come and see a therapist so they feel sorry for you. Empathy is trying to understand what they might be going through. You never fully understand it because you're not them, but you can understand the situation they're in, and then if you can understand it and empathise with them, then they don't feel maybe so alone or something strange, or is it just me or something like that. So empathising with people for me is like making them feel that they're not alone, and I kind of understand partly what they're going through. That's the basic thing I would say.
What should a person do if they're unhappy with their therapist or counselling isn't progressing the way that they want it to?
They have to feel able to say it to you. Whatever the problem is, they have to be able to express it to you.
Yes.
And it can be as simple as just, I just don't like it, or I just don't feel comfortable, whatever it is. So in that case, sometimes it happens, and I will say, well, we can refer you to someone else. I will never abandon you. If you want to see me through whatever it is, I will always be here.
Where should people start when looking for a counsellor? How should they go about it?
This is another one of the things I quite often say to people. The thing about finding a counsellor is you don't know what you're going to get till you're getting it. So it's always tricky. So I would say you have to do your research. Word of mouth, or speaking to people who have been to therapy before and they liked what they had. Again, it might not always be the same for you, but nevertheless, you know someone has been there and they've got good results.
Yes.
So that's another way of doing it. So it's a pretty tricky thing, because you don't really know until you've seen one. And you might go and have someone who's the best therapist in Perth, but you don't gel with them.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be a good experience for you.
Yes.
So it can be a bit hit and miss, but do your research. Try to see if you know other people who have been to that therapist and what they experience with it, and go from there. Or just ask questions with the place you're calling for the therapy.